technical difficulty there. Every time I start getting into something, we lose the signal. So I want to make sure I get everybody back. Hopefully you're still there. If not, we'll give it a second for the audience to pick back up. All right, looks like we're getting back into the swing of things here. All right, so anyway, if you are joining again, that's great. So we were talking about what's happening in California with the water restrictions, and I was talking about what they're going to do with the outdoor water restrictions, and that is they're basically going to kill off all the greenery and all the trees, folks. That's the plan. Because in California is the model for Agenda 21. And all these cell towers you see are going to remain in place, but what's going to happen is the millimeter wave systems are going to be deployed everywhere. On every light pole, every couple hundred feet, every street light, every telephone pole, all these things are going to be containing microwave transmitters. But there's a big problem that they have with these millimeter waves, as deadly as they are. These millimeter waves cannot penetrate the dense hedges of bushes and tree leaves. Now, the trees are green, folks. We all know that leaves are green, and we all know that green leaves are what makes the oxygen. The green pigment in these leaves is called chlorophyll. And the primary component of chlorophyll is iron, and we know that iron is a ferromagnetic compound and also a microwave absorber, and that is why they are going to continue the drought and force water restrictions on California. Because in the Hunger Games model, when you're in the kill grid, when you're locked into the regions, you're going to be forcibly irradiated, and the only thing between you and those transmitters is the air you breathe. So these 50-gallon water restrictions per day in California that are coming are not only going to, like I said, destroy your quality of life in terms of hygiene, how you wash your produce, how you wash your clothing, how you wash your underwear, how you wash your dishes, your forks, your knives, your spoon, your sinks, all of these areas that we now currently have free reign to maintain in a sanitary fashion with basically relatively cheap water is exactly what they're after, folks, because another component of this drought is forced vaccinations. And let me explain this to you. Did you know that the more concentrated and scarce water becomes, the behavior of diseases like West Nile follows in direct proportion? It's a fact that there's a greater density of West Nile mosquito-borne encephalitic infection in times of water scarcity. And that is a phenomenon that takes place for a variety of reasons. But I will just tell you that it's a fact. So the more drier we get, the more unhealthy we're going to become, because we're not going to be able to wash the chemicals off our food, grow our own food, take the necessary steps to maintain good hygiene and sanitation in our homes, as well as public places. And that means increased disease transmission from things like restaurants and fast food establishments and public restrooms, public swimming pools, all these things. You're going to see an increased disease transmission. That is what they want, because in the Hunger Games model, what they want is everybody crammed into a scientific kill grid, dependent upon the government for everything, as they're sickened and weakened by the forced microwave exposure from the coming 5G and the current 4G technology that's already in place, and from the WiGig systems that are going to be put in all the homes, and from all the Wi-Fi systems everywhere, and from all the blue light from the television screens and computer monitors, and from all the bluish white light from all the street lights and the automobile headlights that is destroying your melatonin production and giving you insomnia and taking away your critical sleep that you need, making everybody sick and ending up on medication and depression pills. As they truck in the GMOs, dose the water with toxic halide, fluoride compounds, and bromine, and all kinds of other nonsense, chloramine, and everything else. Folks, they're going to wind this thing down into a complete tight noose. And I will tell you that we still have time to stop this. We can disobey these water restrictions and water our gardens and grow trees and plant trees and water the crap out of everything so these trees will grow like no tomorrow. We need to make sure that our trees in our yards don't die. I recommend that everybody immediately begin deep watering their trees right now. The water needs to get down 10 or 20 feet into the ground where these root structures are. And the trees need to be watered in the area that is the same distance from the trunk as the canopies extend. You've got to, don't just stick the hose at the trunk. You've got to water all the way out to where the branches end. That's where the root system is. If you live in an area where you have a hill, you need to get soaker systems in place. You've got to make sure that the trees stay intact, folks. Because if they manage to kill off all the trees, let me tell you what's a really important component of this. And I'm going to go into this right now. The reason they're after the trees is because the trees produce oxygen, folks. And with the WiGig systems and the 60 gigahertz systems that are going to be deployed, they use a frequency that affects the oxygen molecules that we breathe. They're going after the oxygen in a lot of different ways, folks. They're going after the oxygen by killing off the production forms of the oxygen. When I say the production forms of oxygen, oxygen is produced predominantly by algae in the ocean, but a lot of oxygen in the cities far from the ocean is produced by the plants in the trees. Now, they're going to kill off these plants and these trees, folks. They're also spraying all these metallic nanocompounds, so all these metallic nanocompounds are going to be uptaken by the people and the animals in the trees. So you're basically going to be walking around acting as an antenna, and I'm not talking something you buy at Radio Shack. I'm talking about an antenna where you're going to be attenuating the signals. And I'm just warning you, folks, it's all about the oxygen. This 60 gigahertz and the 5G is all about the air we breathe. This is a satanic agenda, folks. The Bible over and over again refers to the breath that is in us. And the breath that is in us is life, folks. We cannot live without oxygen. And the 5G systems that are coming, and the WiGig systems that are going to replace your household Wi-Fi, they're going to affect the oxygen molecules that you're breathing. They're going to affect the electrons in those oxygen molecules, their orbital spin properties. That is how oxygen is taken up into our bodies by hemoglobin, and it's all based on electromagnetic interactions amongst molecules and how they share electrons and they bond and they hook up with each other. And I'm oversimplifying, but folks, they're after the oxygen. The reason that they're putting these water restrictions into California is to kill off all the trees and all the plants, and to kill off your ability to grow food, and to create a situation whereby you will have unsanitary conditions and increased disease transmission. And that will give rise to forced vaccination. You see, the kill grid, folks, the scientific kill grid is all about the following, and I want to go into these really briefly. A scientific kill grid is comprised of an area that you cannot leave. That is what they're setting up with these megacities. A scientific kill grid is designed to control what you drink. That is already in place with the municipal water systems, whereby they are adding bromine, chloramine, sodium fluoride, sodium monofluorophosphate. And if you're into toothpaste and you're not paying attention, stannous fluoride. A scientific kill grid is a place where you can't eat anything unless it's brought into you, and what we are being fed are all of these toxic refined grains called flour that are bleached with bromine and halide compounds. They're highly refined. The vitamin E has all been milled out and everything is oxidized. And what is happening is it's all GMO and it's full of glyphosate from the fields, and all the food is basically adulterated, folks. Now, we have a situation on our hands where, once again, we're forced to live in a scientific kill grid whereby they are forcibly irradiating everybody right now with the towers that are everywhere. There are cell towers all over the place, folks, and they're not just for cellular communication. They're for a lot of different purposes. But in the scientific kill grid, it is a situation whereby you will be forcibly irradiated by the wireless infrastructure that has been put in place. You will be forcibly irradiated by your neighbor's smart meters if you don't have one, or your own perhaps. You will be forcibly irradiated by the Wi-Fi systems that have been put in every business, in every restaurant, in every school. And you will be forcibly irradiated by the new coming 5G systems that will be competing for your oxygen, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you once again how that is. You have hemoglobin in your blood that binds oxygen and carries it to your cells. That hemoglobin is not going to be able to pick that oxygen up out of your lungs because it will be rendered unbindable to a large extent by the 60 gigahertz emissions coming out of the WiGig systems. Let me repeat that. The 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi systems is going to be broadcasting at a frequency that affects the oxygen molecules, ladies and gentlemen. And you need to understand something. These oxygen molecules are going to become in shorter and shorter supply because all the trees are going to die. Why? Because Governor Brown just signed a law that forces water restrictions on the entire state of California. And what that means is tree death is imminent. Tree death and plant death is imminent because people will abandon taking care of their yards. We have mature landscape and trees all over Southern California that have had the luxury of being afforded regular watering for 100 years by the people that have planted them. I drive through neighborhoods all the time where the trees are 50 years old, and let me tell you something, a couple more years of drought stress and they're done for. And the only thing between our body's need for oxygen right now is what the trees are putting out. And I can tell you what's coming in the days ahead will be an end to the concentrations of oxygen that we have taken for granted. That's what's going on with 5G, and that's what's going on with the drought. We all know that the scientific kill grid is going to involve forced radiation. It's also going to involve forced vaccination. Forced vaccination is being achieved by mind control through the media and the hype that they pump everybody up with. But how they're going to accomplish this is they're going to have more unsanitary conditions because of the water restrictions. And it's going to be coupled with a massive homeless population because they continue to open the borders and let the illegals come in to commoditize the housing and displace people and take the jobs away from everybody. That's the plan. And what you're seeing is that happening right now. You're seeing the people ending up on the streets with no place to live, no place to bathe. And we saw an experimental dry run in a hepatitis outbreak that was staged in San Diego, and the immediate knee-jerk reaction was a forced vaccination campaign. So in the scientific kill grid, You won't have water to grow food. You won't have water to wash your hands. You won't have water to keep your trees alive. So the oxygen levels will drop. That's going to make people even sicker and weaker. And then they're going to release these pathogens that are going to be designer diseases. Specifically with the intent to get the forced vaccination program underway, folks. In the scientific kill grid, you won't be able to say no to forced vaccinations, because everything will be predicated upon it being part of your medical record. And the Agenda 2020 is all about that. You won't be able to get a driver's license or a work permit unless you've been injected. Another component of the scientific kill grid is controlling your circadian rhythm and your sleep cycle. Now, that's already being affected by the microwave exposure. Microwaves affect your melatonin production. However, street lighting has been weaponized, ladies and gentlemen. And I've talked about this, but they've weaponized the street lighting. And what that means is they've changed the color temperature of these lights. They've also weaponized the headlights on all the cars. Have you noticed how blinding these headlights are on these cars now? They've all gone to projector beam headlights on these automobiles. They've gone away from incandescent lights on these automobiles, these sealed beam halogens that were kind of orange and they didn't hurt your eyes. So now we've got this bright white projector beam light pushing 6,000, 6,500 Kelvin. And then you've got these LED street lights in some cases, or these induction lamps that are bright white all over parking lots, all over the stores. They've got these 6,500 degree Kelvin compact fluorescent systems in a lot of businesses now. And so you go to the store at night and it's bright white light in the store, blue light in the monitors, on the TV screens, and they've even weaponized the video game system. With the new Fortnite video games, what they've done is they've quadrupled the amount of blue light that is found in these video game systems, folks. And that's the goal, folks. The kill grid is going to control every aspect of your health, every aspect of your freedom in terms of how to control your health. I'm here to tell you that there are things you can do. There are ways you can avoid the trappings of this, folks. And number one is to fight these things. And if they become a reality, it's time to get out of the city. Another component of the scientific kill grid is the poisoning and killing of the populations with pesticides. Now, right now, they've got you conned into buying this stuff and bringing it home and spraying it all over your yard. You know, that Roundup, because you're too lazy to bend over and pick the weed. So you poison the soil for 20 years. And lay the groundwork for the autism if everybody tries to eat out of that dirt that they sprayed, because glyphosate's directly involved in autism. So the other thing is they're going to be spraying chemicals from the air on us to combat these pathogens that they're going to release. You know, West Nile, St. Louis encephalitis, you know, Zika. These are all bioweapons, folks. And what's going to happen with these bioweapons is they're going to release them. And what they're going to do is they're going to come back and say, here's the solution to our problem. We've got to spray everybody to kill these bugs or these mosquitoes or these worms or these citrus psyllids or these rats or these fleas or whatever they're going to conjure up to be the vector to carry the disease they release, to justify spraying us en masse. Another component of the scientific kill grid is the medical system, folks, because the medical system is directly responsible for poisoning and addicting masses of population to poisons. Most people are going to be on pharmaceutical medication. Most people already have been forced into this because of the requirements for disability and workers' compensation. The only way to collect anymore is to go on psych disability. So you've got to get a situation going to where you can collect your money, and that is to take these meds. And so a lot of people are already on the psychotropics for that reason. A lot of people are on depression medication. A lot of people are on blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication. And all of these things are totally unnecessary, because in the scientific kill grid, you're going to be continually fed sugar, ladies and gentlemen, refined sugar. And in the scientific kill grid, you will be prohibited from accessing things that are beneficial, and you will be given things at a subsidized cost that are deadly and harmful. And that's why when you go to the store, a 2-liter bottle of that caramel color containing sodium benzoate, phosphoric acid containing, acesulfame potassium containing, sucralose containing, high fructose corn syrup containing, ester of wood rosin containing, brominated vegetable oil containing, FDC number 3 Blue Lake 5, and all kinds of other horrific chemicals in those bottles of soda and beverages are offered to you cheaper than the water. And that is by design, because if you drink the poison, you'll need to take the poisonous pills from the poison-pushing pill pushers called doctors. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. That is the agenda. That is the agenda in a scientific kill grid, folks. So, let's go down the list here. You need to water the heck out of your trees and your garden and plant your food and start learning how to grow food, because if you have to leave the city, you're going to need to learn how to be self-sufficient if you have to leave. At least supplement your diet. Now, in the scientific kill grid, I forgot to mention another component here. And that is the majority of the food in the store right now, depending upon what part of the country you live in, is grown under artificial lighting. It is not grown out in the sunlight, folks. Now, food, for lack of a better explanation, is petrified sunlight. The light energy from the sun is required to make those reactions run in the plants and even in the fruit itself while it's being ripened, or the vegetable itself. They're all photosynthetic. It needs to be in the full spectrum of sunlight to be containing the full nutritional value that it was designed to have. And so when you're eating food that may be organic, but it was grown hydroponically in a closed greenhouse with artificial lighting, in a fertilizer slurry, literally, then you have a situation where you're not getting the benefits, folks. That's the reality. So the reality is we need to take control of our health and our food production and our bodies and our environment. And that is accomplished by doing everything I just mentioned. You've got to avoid these vaccines. You've got to get off all of your medications, folks. And if I could give you one piece of advice to get you off all your pills, that is to get off all refined sugar in its entirety, folks. If you see the word high fructose corn syrup, if you see the word sugar, if you see the word refiner's syrup, or these other sweeteners that will make you crave and eat more carbohydrates like aspartame, you need to get off all that stuff and don't buy any products containing that. That is the #1 easiest, simplest thing you can do to take your health back, because you're going to need every ounce of your health in the days ahead, folks. Because what they're setting up in the Compact City Scientific Kill Grid is nothing short of a weaponized, mechanized kill grid assembly line slaughterhouse for a bunch of satanic, Luciferian eugenicists that want to drop the world's population by massive amounts. And the only way to thwart this is with knowledge, and the knowledge is power, folks. You can shut your Wi-Fi off in your house. You can get a reverse osmosis water filtration system. You can take mineral supplementation. You can eat fruits and vegetables that you grow yourself. You can also avoid bringing in dangerous lighting systems into your home and go back to the incandescent lighting systems. You can avoid the smart meters being installed in your home or have them removed by opting out. You can also not wear your sunglasses to get the proper lighting through your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. You need to get rid of your UV blocking contact lenses and order contact lenses that don't block the ultraviolet. You cannot live without ultraviolet A and B going through your eyes and penetrating your skin. You can't stay in the sun for 20 hours, but you need at least an hour a day of good, clean sunlight that is uninhibited by sunglasses or UV blocking windows. And I repeat, that is of vital importance, ladies and gentlemen. Get all the LED lights out of your home, all of the compact fluorescent lighting out of your home. Go back to incandescent lighting and buy as many of those light bulbs as you can get your hands on. Empty the shelves. Empty the shelves at Dollar Tree and the 99-cent store. Buy all these light bulbs before they end up being thrown away or taken by people who aren't going to use them, or possibly even taken off the shelves by the government. And avoid all of the new incandescent lights. The newer incandescent lighting systems, ladies and gentlemen, they sell. They're the wrong color temperature. They're bluish. You can tell by these new bulbs that they kind of have a bluish powder inside them. They've got a bluish color to them. You want to avoid those light bulbs. You want to go with the old warm orange 2700 degree incandescent light bulbs. You want to go with the old halogen, maybe 3000 degrees. Those are still available. Go to Goodwill, go to the Salvation Army, buy them at the secondhand store. Buy them anywhere you can get your hands on, because lighting is a key component of this scientific kill grid, folks. Now, you can also get some blue blocking and white blocking glasses for the nighttime travel. That'll help cut down from the glare from these projection beam headlights. Now, all of these things that they're setting up for us, folks, are a result of technological advances that have been developed intentionally as weaponry. There are no accidental circumstances here. This is a culmination of a very long-term plan where you have a convergence of all of these technologies being brought together and installed to kill and cull. All the while, they're cramming everybody into the 1% of the land, and their goal is to have 99% of the United States as rural open space, ladies and gentlemen. And that is by design, and let me tell you why. Because the elite are engaged in very heinous activities that involve heinous crimes against kidnapped victims, young children, and they do all kinds of very evil things, and they want plenty of privacy, and they don't want anybody catching them. And that is a fact, folks. That is a fact. That is why they want everybody crammed in so they can be controlled and culled. So, you know what you need to do? You know that blue light at night is bad. You know that white light is bad at night. You need to shut your television sets off. Download iLux on your computer and your phone to change the color temperature of your screens to 2700 degrees at night, 2700 Kelvin. You also need to continue burning wood and putting your ashes in your garden for your minerals while it's still legal. That's another thing they're going after, folks, is wood burning bans. They don't want you having access to mineral production. You see, when you burn the wood, folks, the only thing that remains are the minerals, and that's what people used to put in their gardens, and that's what people did for centuries, and they still do it in most of the world. That's why they're healthy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've pretty much covered all the bases here. California is the test model, and if we don't stop it in California, it's coming to a state near you. And I just want you to know that this truth and this information has been brought to you by the Fullerton Informer, Joe Imbriano. I am the Fullerton Informer, and I am powered by Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. And the one truth that we all can agree on, whether you like it or not, folks, is that we're all going to die someday, and it's just a matter of when. But we all need to go fighting, and we all need to go looking out for everybody and warning everybody of the impending things to come, and to warn everybody about how they can avoid what is laid out before us out in the open to destroy our lives, folks. And the fact of the matter is that no matter what we do, we have to put others before ourselves. And that's what I do, and that's what you should train your children to do. Because the fact of the matter is that if we didn't have those people that died barefoot in the snow under a blue sky, and that's why we got that red, white, and blue flag, folks, we wouldn't be having this conversation. God bless all of you, and in Jesus' name, may we all go love each other And that doesn't mean not telling the truth, folks. Sometimes we got to step on some toes to tell the truth. But it's because we care, folks. And it's because you should care too. I'm telling you right now, we're out of time. We got to wake up everybody we can. We're not in the Hunger Games yet, but they're setting it up, folks. God bless all of you, and we'll be talking to you soon.